Let's have a look. Doctor, nurse, nurse, doctor, nurse, nurse, doctor, nurse, 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 nurse. That's usually the way it is. It seems to be about 90% nurses and maybe 5% doctors and then 5% other. Okay, cool. We're on YouTube Live. Now, just before we begin, if my screen is blurry on your screen, you're going to have to watch this on YouTube Live. If you're in the Zoom webinar and my screen is blurry, I'm going to give you the link to watch this on YouTube Live. Don't ask me why. It's just the way it works. My technology is a bit odd. So I've just pasted a link into the chat. I'm also going to turn your chat off so you can only chat with me. I'll say it once again. If your screen is blurry, if you can't read it properly, the PowerPoints look weird, please watch this on YouTube Live. And I've just popped the link into the chat. So click that link. You can watch it on YouTube Live. You can still chat within the Zoom webinar. Okay, cool. I think that's all good. We can get started. Oops, what's going on here? All right. All right, just let me check that. Something's wrong. Nope, you can chat with me. Yep, good. Okay. Okay. Just bear with me. Sorry. Okay, let's just test this. All right, it's working. Hello, everyone. My name is Jay. I'm one of the expert OET teachers here at e2language.com. If you haven't signed up for your OET package yet, you should just go across to the OET official website, click on the Start for Success package. It's free preparation. Well, it gives you a partial amount for free, a small amount for free, but it's still good practice. And then you can think about upgrading to the budget plus or any of the other premium packages if you need help for your OET. Alternatively, you can just go to the e2language.com website and sign up there as well. What we're going to do in this live class is look at OET writing, and we're going to specifically look at some medicine case notes, but I believe that they're probably simple enough. There's not too much jargon in there, confusing jargon. I think that also physios, nurses, dentists should be able to read these and follow along and write up a letter as well. So I think it's probably good for everybody. It might be a little bit more complex and challenging than the nursing case notes, but not so complex that it will be incomprehensible. So let's have a look. I'm also going to teach you a different type of structure because sometimes on test day, you're going to get, anyway, I'll get stuck into it. I'll just show you what that is. By the way, we're a premium preparation provider. If you're going to prepare for the OET, make sure the school or the institute or the website has this symbol, which means that they know what they're talking about. Okay, so the OET writing method is this. On test day, you should firstly read the task. The task is the most important part of the case notes. It tells you who you're writing to, whether or not you know that person you're writing to, whether or not that person knows the patient. It tells you what type of letter you're writing. Is it referral, discharge, transfer, or perhaps an information letter? It also tells you the key information in order to structure your letter. The second thing you need to do is interpret the case notes. The case notes will not be written in clear sentences. They will be written in short phrases, in symbols, in single words. You need to interpret them correctly so you are putting the correct information into your letter. Number 3 is you need to select only the relevant case notes from the case notes. You need to disregard, neglect, leave out irrelevant case notes. You have a word limit of between 180 to 200 words. You need to select carefully. You cannot select every case note. 1, you do not have time, and 2, you will go over the word limit. 4th thing you need to think about, and this happens simultaneously, you need to organize your letter into a logical, coherent structure. And at the same time, you need to transform those case notes into accurate grammatical sentences. What we're going to look at in this lesson today is organization specifically. So let's think about how to organize your letter. Okay, really, I see that there are 2 main structures. Here's the first main structure that you can use. Let's call it main medical issue. So the structure will look like this. It'll have main medical issue. Let's say that's paragraph 1. You may also be mentioning a secondary issue or a related issue. Then the third paragraph will be sort of miscellaneous information, perhaps the medications, perhaps something that you need to write about. Then you'll have your paragraph where you ask the reader of the letter for their help. Maybe it's a physio and you're asking the physio to provide a service for that patient. Okay. Now so let me give you this in more detail. So the structure might look like this. I'm writing to refer patient because of X. Then you give details of X. That's the main medical issue, X. You might give some details of Y. That will be the secondary or related issue. And you may even give details of Z, or that's the miscellaneous paragraph. And the ask is, I need you to do this for me. Okay, that's just a very broad structure. What I don't want you to do on test day is to memorize a structure and use it like a fixed template. Don't do that. The OET examiners will notice immediately if you've memorized some sort of structure or phrase. What I'm telling you here is that there are it's not a template. I'm not saying you're going to memorize any phrases or ways to write. I'm just telling you how to think about two broad structures for the case notes. And there seems to be one broad structure, which is the main medical issue, secondary issue. Then there's the second structure, and we'll look at that now. The second type of structure, let's call it chronology or time series or timeline, in which case you'll describe the main medical issue. And then you might discuss in paragraph 1, the visit 1, paragraph 2, the visit 2, the paragraph 3, the visit 3, and the ask. And the case notes, you may have seen case notes like this. It will have a date and it'll have a series of case notes related to that date. For example, what's the date today? The 22nd. Let's say they came last week on the 15th or whatever. And it'll have 15th of the 2nd, 2018, set of case notes. Then the patient came back 2 days later on the 17th of February, 2018. I'll have a set of case notes. And it'll have a series of these dates with case notes attached to each date. This is particularly common for doctors, especially GPs, because that's what will happen. The patient will come back and see you week after week, for example. Then what's going to happen is you may need to refer that patient to, I don't know, an endocrinologist or a dermatologist or even a dentist, something like that. So you'll be summarizing what happened in each of those visits, perhaps. Let's have a look how you might do that. So you might structure your letter, your referral letter to the, say, dermatologist. I'm writing to refer the patient because of X. Let's say that's a skin rash or something. The patient presented with the skin rash on this date, and there'll be some information associated with that. Your next paragraph will say something like the patient then presented with Y, or X became more serious on this date. And most recently, the patient presented with Z. Maybe it's the same. Maybe it's also X. And the patient presented with X on this date again. And this time it was really bad. So final paragraph, would you kindly follow up with this patient to provide some sort of treatment? Again, just a very broad structure. It's just a way to think about structuring these case notes, okay? Let's do one. So what I want you to do is get out a notebook and a pen. Because I can't give you the case notes and you can't print them out, what you're going to do is I'm going to show you case notes. I want you to take notes on relevant case notes. Take notes of the notes. That's possible. Relevant ones in particular according to the task. We're going to read the task first. Then I'm going to show you the case notes section by section. You're going to read them. You're going to think, okay, that's important. I'm going to write that down according to the task and who you're writing to. That's important. I'm going to write that down. Okay. Then I'm going to give you 20 minutes at the end to actually put your paragraphs together. It's only 20 minutes. I'll show you. It's easier. It'll be slightly easier. So Give you 30 seconds to read this. All right, let's look closely at this task because there's lots of information in here that we need to think about. Okay, first of all, who are we writing to? We're writing to Dr. Smith. Well, what profession is Dr. Smith? Because this is going to be a referral letter. We're referring the patient to Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith is an endocrinologist. Fine. And here's the address for Dr. Smith. It even says what the task is, further management. Who's the patient? Here's the patient here, Mrs. Sharma. And we're referring for further management of Mrs. Sharma's sugar levels. So we can assume that Mrs. Sharma may be suffering from diabetes, especially because we're writing to an endocrinologist. That might be appropriate. It even tells you her full name, Dr. Lisa Smith, and all of the information you need to format your letter. Okay, so you know who we're writing to, we know what type of letter we're writing, and we know why we're writing. Cool, make sure you get that when you read the task. Now we're going to move on, and I want you to take notes of the notes. If you don't take notes of the notes, you can't do the next section, which is actually to write your letter. So please take notes. Here we go. I'm going to keep the task down here at all times. So what I first want you to do is read the task again, then read the case notes and think, okay, which of these am I going to keep? Okay, and then I want you to jot them down. I'll give you 1 minute per set of case notes. Your 1 minute starts now. Actually, I'm just going to give you 30 seconds here because it's pretty straightforward. 5, 4, 3, I'll give you a little bit longer. I'm being too cruel. 10 seconds. All right, so out of all of these case notes, according to the task, which ones did you think were relevant? Which ones were irrelevant? Leave the irrelevant ones and write down the important ones, okay? Because we're going to turn that into the letter in a second. Next set of case notes. 1 minute starts now. Whoops, I've given family history twice there. My apologies. Ten seconds. All right, let's move on to the next one. I'll just give you 30 seconds for this. Now, you may not understand what these drugs are. I certainly don't. I really cannot tell you, but I'll show you a sample letter. I'm going to show you a sample letter at the end so you can sort of compare, but I don't understand what these drugs are. All right, that's probably enough time. 10 seconds left. Okay, we move on to the first visit here. What is relevant? What is irrelevant according to the task? What you might want to be doing, I've never really done this before, but I'm just thinking how this might work. This might be a good opportunity to transform the case notes. So you're doing two things. First of all, you're interpreting those case notes, thinking, what does that mean? Then what you might want to do is when you're taking your notes, you can write it into a proper sentence. That might be a good way to do this. I'll give you another 20 seconds on this one. Okay, 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. We move to the on examination. This is related to that same date, by the way. Okay, let's move on. Hopefully this is working. Let me just stop and make sure. Just type in yes or no. Type in yes if this is working, if you're able to take notes as we go. Type in no if it's not working. I have no idea. I can't see you, by the way. I'm just sitting here in like this little room. All right, cool. It's working. Good. Nice. Glad. All right, let's keep moving along then. Let's move to the 5th of the second 18. Give you a minute to take notes here. Excuse me, 10 seconds left. Okay, let's move to the next date, which is the 12th of February. All right, 10 seconds left, then we'll move on. Not too many to go now. Let's move on to the next one, 20th of the 2nd. That one's pretty straightforward. Let's move on to the next date. Oops, hold on, something's wrong here. Sorry, that should be 20th of the 2nd. My apologies. All right, and just let me check. This is the final one. Yeah, final one. Here we go. Ten seconds. And that is the end of the case notes. We'll write in a second, but first of all, it's quite interesting to go through the case notes just date by date like that. And if you can imagine what that would look like on test day. So you're looking at your test paper and it's broken up chronologically in time periods of visits by the patient or when the pathology reports were returned to you, things like that. Now your job is to write to Dr. Lisa Smith and tell Lisa Smith the story of Mrs. Sharma. This is what you need to think about doing. You're not writing to appease the OET examiners. You're writing to inform Dr. Lisa Smith about Mrs. Sharma, including all of the relevant information that we've just seen. Dr. Lisa Smith doesn't want to know about the irrelevant information, that her weight loss is, that her weight was normal, that she has normal BMI or blood pressure is normal, whatever. That doesn't interest her. What is going to interest the endocrinologist is going to be the relevant information taken from each of those visits, taken from the pathology reports, put into a nice structure. And we're going to think about using a structure like, well, let's have a look at this one. Before we begin writing, I've done the formatting for you. So I've already written Dr. Lisa Smith, endocrinologist, City Hospital Newtown, and today's date. Let's say today is the date of the test. Dear Dr. Smith, regarding Mrs. Priya Sharma, date of birth here. Introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, possibly paragraph 4, and the ask. Yours sincerely, doctor or nurse. I want you just to write this section here. I'm only going to give you 20 minutes. So forget all of this. I've done it for you. I just want to write your introductory paragraph. In fact, I might just give me a second. I'm going to paste the task back here as well. I want you to write your paragraph 1 and think about the timestamps of when the patient visited. So this might regard visit 1, for example. This might regard visit 2 and the return of the pathology reports. Perhaps this will be visit 3 and visit 4. You can combine visits 3 and 4 into one. Paragraph 4 might be something else. Results of the pathology reports. And the ask, what do you want Mrs. Smith to do for you? Just give me a second while I paste the task. I think it would be helpful to have the task right in front of you. Just give me a second here. Okay, I'll paste that right up the top so you can see it at all times. It's just helpful to always be looking at that task. Okay, just before we begin, just type in ready if you're ready to start writing. Hopefully it all makes sense. Hopefully you have the notes. Hopefully it's going to work. All right, Kathleen's ready. All right, everyone's ready. Sweet. Let's do it. Let's do it. Give you 20 minutes to write a beautiful letter. Just the paragraphs. Don't worry about the other stuff. Then we're going to look at a sample model letter and you can compare yours to the sample. Okay? And we'll see if you've selected relevant things as per the model letter. Here we go. You have 20 minutes to write. Again, it's just a broad structure. You can write as many paragraphs or as few paragraphs as you want. You have 20 minutes, starts now. Just going to check that everything's okay. Merritt, if anybody's missed case notes, you can go onto YouTube Live and watch this again from when we looked through the case notes, okay? I'm sorry about that, but that's just the way it works. Oh no. Is that still moving? Let's see. That's stuck now. Damn it. All right, I'll just tell you how much time you have left. You have about 12 minutes left. just going to check to see how you're going. Okay. We'll keep continuing on. Just a few minutes left. Oh, all right. It's a complete experiment, by the way. I have no idea if you just sat there and watched that thing turn around or whether you're actually writing your case notes, writing your letter. So, okay, cool. I can see some people are writing stuff into the chat now. That's fine. Let me just read you Yusuf. So I'm writing to refer Mrs. Sharma, who was provisionally diagnosed with uncontrolled NIDDM. I'll be glad if you accept to manage this case appropriately. Next paragraph. Okay, cool. What I'll do now, rather than going through individual people's letters, which will be impossible because we've got 130 people in here, I'm just going to show you the sample letter from the OET website, okay? I'll show you it for a few reasons. We're going to sort of deconstruct it. Hopefully you've finished. If you haven't, you can always come back and finish it later. So this is what the letter will look like on test day, just in terms of format. You want to put the recipient's name, the position, the address, and the date. You can also put the date right at the top. It doesn't matter. Or you can put the date here. It also doesn't matter where the date goes. But then you'll have Dear Dr. Smith. Then you have the regarding patient and the patient's age or date of birth. You have your introductory sentence here or introductory sentences here. You have your paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 4. In fact, this one has paragraph 5. So there's really no fixed way to do this. It all depends on how you want to structure the letter and what makes the most sense for Lisa Smith, the reader of the letter. Okay, let's take a closer look at, just bear with me, I'm going to have a Microsoft PowerPoint moment here. Yep, there we go, just collapsed and it's coming back. Let's look more closely at this section here, because this is really what you need to write on test day. All the rest of it should only take you about a minute to write. So then you'll be able to spend 39 minutes just on this section. And this is the section that is counted in your word count. So the top section is not counted, for example. So this part here needs to be between 180 and 200 words. Let's zoom in and take a look at it. Let's read through this sample letter. The introductory sentence or paragraph says, "Thank you for seeing Mrs. Priya Sharma, a type 2 diabetic." That's very nice and clear and concise, isn't it? "I would be grateful if you would assist with her blood sugar control." So in that introductory paragraph, we've already said what we want Dr. Lisa Smith to do. Assist Priya Sharma with her blood sugar levels. Now we move on to a bit of an introduction to Mrs. Sharma, because from the task, we could ascertain that Mrs. Sharma does not know Dr. Smith. The patient does not know the doctor. Therefore, we should make some sort of introductory remark here, which is Mrs. Sharma is 60 years old and has a strong family history of diabetes. She was diagnosed with NIDDM in 1994 and has been successfully monitoring her blood pressure and sugar levels at home since then. She first attended my surgery on the 29th of January 2018, as she was concerned that her blood sugar levels were no longer well controlled. You can see how that final sentence there comes from the first visit of Mrs. Sharma to the doctor, and it's a nice, elegant way to put it. Second paragraph here is the examination that led on from the first visit. So on initial presentation, her BP was 155/100, and she said that her blood sugars were running between 6 and 18. Her medication at that time was metformin, 500 milligrams, blah, 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 blah. I'm not even going to read that and pretend to pronounce that properly. Next paragraph. Mrs. Sharma is allergic to penicillin. Now, I guess that's a question of relevance, and I think that would be a highly relevant case note to select, an allergy to penicillin. I think that would be worth putting into the letter for the endocrinologist. A pathology report on the 5th of February 2018 showed HbA1c levels of 10% and GFR greater than 60 mils, blah, blah, blah. Her cholesterol was high, 6.2. So in fact, this paragraph here was from the pathology report. Now we move to another date. On 12th of February, I instituted that 4 milligrams, 1 tablet each morning. Since then, her home monitored BP has been within range. On 12th of the 2nd, 18, I also prescribed, sorry, this date, I've changed these dates. They may be wrong. This may be a date after the 12th of the 2nd. I may have got this incorrect. I also prescribed a Lipitor 20 milligrams daily, and her lipids have improved with cholesterol falling from 6.2 to 3.2. Last paragraph says, Mrs. Sharma reports that her fasting BSL is in the 16 plus range, with other blood sugars are 7 to 8. I am concerned about her fasting blood sugars, which remain high, and would appreciate your advice. That is what we call the ask. That's what you're asking the endocrinologist to do. Give advice on this particular patient. Anyway, that's an example of a letter that is structured chronologically. That's an example of a letter that is not structured with main medical issue, secondary issue, miscellaneous medications, other important information. This one is sort of introductory sentence, bit of a background statement considering the patient does not know the specialist. Then we go visit 1, visit 2, or pathology report according to visit 1, visit 2, visit 3, and then the ask, what you want the specialist to do. Hopefully it resembled your letter in some way. Hopefully your case notes that you selected were the same as these case notes. There is some room for difference. What I found with these sort of sample model letters is that if you did include some other case notes, that's probably okay. There were some case notes that were definitely irrelevant. There were some that were semi-relevant, and there were some that were directly related to the endocrinologist, including blood sugar levels and whatnot as well, which you needed to put in, okay? That's all. Guys, if you need help with your OET and you're taking the test in March or April or whenever, you should go across to E2 Language and sign up for one of our paid packages to get full access to our course materials and methods lessons, as well as one-on-one tutorials with our OET experts. We also give writing feedback. You'll have full access to all of the materials and everything. We're also an OET premium preparation provider, which means that we know what we're talking about. You can also go straight across to the OET website itself and sign up for a package there because we're on their website now. Hope that was helpful. I'll now stick around for some questions. Don't ask me questions about medicine though. I won't be able to answer them. Hi Jay, can I write the patient's allergy in the re part? No, I don't think so. The RE is just simply for the name of the patient and the age of the patient or the date of the birth of the patient. The allergy can be written, well, it depends on the importance of the allergy. Here, if we're writing to, allergic to penicillin, you have to think about where you're going to place that. Are you going to embed it in a later paragraph? Maybe it's not that important. Maybe it's just an allergy to, I don't know, something that's not that dangerous. For example, you may put it into a later paragraph. If it's something extremely important, push important information to the top of the letter, I would suggest as a rule of thumb. Oh, cool. Nice. Okay. Apparently it was helpful. That's good. Any more questions? Anything at all? I'm any of the subtests, not just writing. I can answer, well, possibly answer your questions on the other subtests as well. Let's have a look at YouTube Live, see if there's any questions. Jay, will this type of letter, this type of case note structure happen for nurses as well? I can't say that I've seen it for nurses. It doesn't mean to say that it's not possible. It's possible. It could possibly happen for nurses as well. I've definitely seen it for physiotherapy case notes. Where else have I seen it? Dentists. Just be aware of it. That's all I'd say. Just be aware of it. Jay, where do we put the date of the letter? The top or the bottom? Doesn't matter. Just put it right at the top. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Okay, people are worried about very minor stuff. I suppose that's okay. Jay, do we write Dr. Dr. full stop or just Dr? Doesn't matter. Okay. Okay. All right. I think that's all. Nobody has any questions. I think that's a good thing. maybe it's a bad thing. I don't know. One more question. It's just popped up. Jay, I'm a budget package member. I need more practice for listening and reading material. What would be the best package for me? We have on the website, I think we've got 12 reading part B subtests, 11 reading part A subtests. I'm just by memory, I think this is right. Listening part A and B is about the same. There's a significant number of practice tests there. There's also the skill building activities as well on the OET, not on the OET, on the E2 Language website. So go through those. If you have any questions about which package is right for you, you can send a message through help.e2language.com, help.e2language.com. Jay, what happens if we exceed 200 words? You're not penalized per se. It's just a recommendation to stay within 180 to 200. If you select just relevant case notes and expand them properly into proper sentences, then you will write about 180 to 200 words. So it's a good guide to whether or not you're selecting relevant or irrelevant case notes. If you're including irrelevant case notes, your word count will increase over. If you're not selecting enough of the relevant case notes, you'll write like 150 words. So use it as a guide. And trust me, even if you're a great writer, your English is perfect, you want to do some practice before test day, because even if you write referral letters and discharge letters all day long, you probably write them differently to how the OET wants to see them, okay? So just keep that in mind. Fatima, usually I write what I hear, not in note form. Is it okay? I think you're referring to listening part A, and no, you need to write in note form for listening part A. So not sentences. You need to write in notes. It's a note-taking activity. All right. Okay, I've just gone through that. Anju says that ET Language is a good website, really helpful. Thank you. Can I write my letter in capital letters? Yes, I think you can. In IELTS, you're allowed to. You may want to double check though. All right, cool. I think that's all, guys. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for coming along. Hope it was helpful. Good luck on your exam, and please do prepare. A lot of people don't prepare and they get disappointed when they get the results, and there's a reason why. Okay. Thank you. See you guys soon.